本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。
I'm watching Dr. Lupo. Is he a terrible person? I don't know anything about him.
He's okay. He's all right. I'm pretty sure.
He's like you wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup, but he's fine.
Yeah.
I'm watching him clear a house in Tarkov right now, and it's
hell yeah.
fucking terrifying. This is like early PUBG energy, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm in. I gotta clear some
Also,
room.
honestly, that fucking clip that you posted.
I know.
With the
yeah.
the thing that PUBG I felt like was missing for a certain like skill level was the fucking tracers.
Yeah.
Like not having like the right setup or the amount or the awareness to hear the sound correctly every single time.
Yeah.
What like kind of was this like skill floor that you had to be at.
Yeah.
Where this is like if they miss and you catch one of those tracers, you've got a fight going.
Right.
Instead of being like completely
Done.
fucked if you don't.
I don't know if
hear
every
the
gun
first
has
one.
tracers. I don't know.
Right,
I have no
right.
idea. Listen.
But even just seeing that clip was like, oh,
We should start.
huh.
Yeah, we should start a podcast.
Yeah, I think we did.
All right, well. What's good, Internet? It's Monday, January 6th, 2020, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 288. I'm your host, Austin Walker, bringing you into the new decade, joined here in the
New
studio.
year.
New year, new decade.
New decade.
Ricardo Contreras is here. Cado is
up?
here with us, rocking the 1994 PlayStation hoodie.
Yeah, I got this
What's
hoodie.
good?
It's fucking great.
Yeah, what's
I love
good?
it.
Got the all-over print. You
Yeah.
already know what it is.
Hell yeah.
Also with us, Patrick Klepek, whose audio feels weird to me, but I think it's fine. It's fine.
It's probably fine. It's probably fine.
You really got to carry this over into the podcast.
Austin is
You're like,
totally okay with it. He is fine.
I think it's fine. I just need to... New decade, new energy, new neuroses. Also,
Hey, can we clap in, or are we just gonna totally fuck this dog?
Shit.
Yeah. So the problem, Rob, is
Wait. No, we're fine,
Is
we're
my
fine.
audio? It's not time.is that we didn't do.
we didn't do.
We don't need time that is.
What?
New decade.
No, we still need to.
Turns out you don't need time that is.
We still do.
It just makes it slightly easier.
We still need to
I
do
have
it.
the backing track.
I know you
and
do.
I can line up their waveforms to their waveforms.
Isabel Marant says...
So we never have to do time.is again.
No, we got to keep doing it.
Until Cado comes to us this afternoon and goes, all right, guys.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean this afternoon? We're going to finish this podcast and he's going to go... And we're going to go, what is it? What happened? And he's going to go, don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's good.
See? Let's clap on 20.
You clipped. I did not hear you. Your sound dropped out as you said the time.
Two claps is enough,
Look.
right? That's good enough. You can figure it out.
You don't want to go one more?
All right, 35.
I don't-
35.
I didn't even want to clap in the first place.
Boom.
Sick. Great.
So should we do a new...
No, this is...
in it?
We're in
No,
the...
just
Well, then cut that
We're
dead
in it.
air. You
I'll
cut that dead air.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fine.
2020 is here. We've all taken a break. I think this is the longest we've gone without recording anything new ever. I think that's probably why we're so rusty.
What?
That's it.
17th?
That's it. I am
It's the 6th.
fucked up right now.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I feel good, but this is the longest.
Austin,
Wait.
2020, processing, feeling okay.
No. It's been bad. I needed to do this podcast so bad. It's killing me. Partly because we kept playing games, and like I think if you look at our like top 10 list, like those things continue to evolve between our recording the end of year podcast and then publishing those lists. It's like I have all this thing I want to talk about games, but also because, like I said, this is probably 2.5 weeks of not recording this podcast.
Yeah.
And one, for someone who, like, that put me in full work from home mode and then vacation mode and then back to work from home mode, and losing the office as a space to go to has been bad for my brain, even though I'm only here twice a week. But mostly it's just like, I played Disco Elysium finally. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, me too.
But before we get into that, I have one more thing I have to do, which is I have to say, also joining us, Rob Zachney, which I didn't say 10 minutes ago. because I got
Cado could
interrupted.
have just, at this point, Cado could have just edited it from another podcast.
Yeah, just
the
drop
way
it
he's
in.
treating this recording.
Yeah. We're just going to put this whole
Or
thing
we could
together.
have just taken you already know who it is. Like,
You already know who it is.
He needs no introduction.
He doesn't need an introduction. Rob Zachney here with us. Thank you for joining us. And also, there's one other piece of business that we have to attend to, which is get
Oh shit! I
fucked Tom.
forgot to record.
No, you didn't.
No,
really?
shut up.
No, I did. I'm an old pro.
Like, this is cursed. Also, you
you're
interrupted
not.
me saying
No, you're
fuck
not.
Tom Brady. You interrupted me saying fuck Tom Brady. This is.
Oh my god.
You know what? We have to get it out of the system. This is the one bad podcast we'll do this year. This is the one that isn't.
This
Right.
is
Hold us to
great
it.
energy
Get your
for
bad
the new
takes
year.
out, everybody.
Yep, exactly. All right. Do you want to talk about Disco Elysium, Patrick? Is that where we're at? Do we want to just jump in head first?
Yeah, man. I almost was supposed to say screw it and just do a spoiler cast, but I guess we could
We
do.
can't. Did
I haven't
you beat
finished
it?
it yet.
Okay, no, you should
I
finish
have
it, and then we'll do a spoiler cast.
No, I know. Yeah, my 2 weeks off was like 1 week was, or rather like 4 days were like real vacations. Like my daycare doesn't give me, some daycares give you like a discount if you're like, hey, don't send your kid over the holidays. We're going to staff down and we want to encourage parents to do that. They offered no such option. So I was like, Jessica, you are going to daycare and Dad-Dad's going to have a Dad-Dad day where he can
Wow.
actually do things. And so like, yeah, my choice was to start on Disco Elysium, a game in which I'm like head over heels for it. I'm halfway through, probably. It seems like
What day are you on?
I have a place to live.
Nice.
I found.
Okay, so at least day 3.
Arguably, maybe like in quotes.
That place is
but
nice. That place is all
It
right.
seems fine. I wish I could. You know what? It's not a game that gives you any customization over like where you live, but I do, and I don't like that stuff in games normally. But I am
Dude.
so invested in this
Yeah.
character in a way that I don't get invested. I don't really
Role play.
role play because I think as Disco Elysium has unearthed, like so many games don't give you actual opportunities to do that in a way that I've always said. I have trouble bringing myself into the game. I need the game to lead me there. This is true of open world games. It's true of role playing. And this game helps me better understand the lack of role playing I'm doing in games that claim to be about role playing. When actually in Disco Elysium, you're given opportunities to do that and to really imprint a character.
This game does the
And
thing that I've said this before.
Yeah,
Is
go
like,
ahead.
I wish more games would meet you halfway. Do you know what I've said? I've said like, okay, I like to bring myself. I like to go into a game like, here's who my character is. Even a game like Final Fantasy XIV, I could tell you real decisions I've made around like, oh, I'm going to stop playing Red Mage now because in the story my character's magical power was sapped away, and so for the next 10 levels I'm just going to play Samurai as my character's relearning their which is complete bullshit. The game doesn't do it, but I bring that energy into the game, and I've said for a long time I wish a game would meet players halfway. I wish I could point to a game that met players halfway there, and I think Disco does that, as you're saying. There's so many
And
opportunities.
it's not just how games often do this, where like, hey, here's a couple of prompts at the beginning, like answer this question to like fill in your backstory, like are you a renegade or whatever, and this informing of a narrative of who this person is, who this like it uses the amnesiac trope, but to like great availability, right? Like I think it like fully justifies it in the narrative in terms of like the power that gives the player to imprint this character with a sense of self, whether that's one that's like reflective of yourself or like who you're building in the world. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't feel like, you picked a path. This is the type of character you are. Like there's a fluidity.
I'm light side now,
to
or something like that.
Yeah, or you don't know. You often don't have a great sense of the sides, or it's just in the moment. It's just a fluid narrative in terms of the character building that I find having. I think we were discussing this in Discord as we were trying to like chat about it, but like not chat too much about it. Like it's like and playing, Outer Worlds like next to this made me. Was like, Outer Worlds was just a giant hoodwink of like, oh, this is, and I that's like so more derogative than I mean to be about that game, but it's more. Disco Elysium illuminates like there was so many paths this genre could have gone in, like post, let's say Fallout 3, ushering in like this to the map. I mean, I know there's Elder Scrolls and stuff like that, but like that.
Well, Fallout 3, Mass
It was very
Effect.
much about like making choices, like making like bad things happen. Like there was a certain style of game, and like it could have splintered in various ways. And the way that formula is so rigid at this point that people are nostalgic for a formula that it turns out hasn't changed that much. And Disco Elysium, well, fundamentally a different style of game. There's no combat whatsoever. It just suddenly reveals like how much the writing is so rich and detailed. And I just find that it just suddenly makes you look at a game like Outer Worlds and go, okay, like that was not nearly enough.
Or like, I think part of the thing that you're getting at here too is in that style of game, everything feels so so isolated and vacuum locked apart from each other in terms of quest lines, right? So like, let's say you're playing one of those games and you get a cannibal quest. You find out that there is a family who lives on the edge of the frontier and they're really nice, but then guess what? They're cannibals. You can name any of these games and you will find that quest.
Outer Worlds had one.
Outer Worlds had one. Multiple of the Fallout games have had them. Oblivion or Skyrim, Elder Scrolls games have had them. And so you go do that thing. And let's say you decide, I'm going to sit down and eat this meat. I'm going to eat this meat. In those games, those things that choice ends up feeling vacuum sealed and like airlocked from the rest of the content, outside of maybe you get a perk that says you get -5 charisma when you're talking to people because they can sense something's off about you, buddy. But there's no actual feeling that your character has changed or that you've stepped down a path that the world recognizes. Partially because of the inclusion of Lieutenant Kim, who is one of the best party members, if not my favorite party member of any RPG.
This game minus him.
Oh, it's a terrible game. It's like,
yeah, it doesn't work. Which they probably, they designed it because, like but I just like, if you were to imagine playing this game, it just took him out because you could, right? Like you could play, and actually there are mechanics in the game where like, yo, you want to do some dirty ass shit while Lieutenant Kim,
let me tell you, I'm gonna get them boots,
Mr. Moralizer, just judging you, saying like, what? Don't take those boots off that corpse.
I'm gonna get those boots, Kim.
So go to bed, Kim, and I'm gonna take those fucking boots, wear them, and then the next. Okay, this is actually a great illustration. It's like it's not really a spoiler. Is that there? The heart of this game is like investigating a murder in which there is a corpse hung outside of a hotel, and
for way too long. For way too long. Because of you, you're shitball of a main character, and you can eventually get it down, and then there is an. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil too much. Like I don't know how it splinters. How much is like this is my version of it. There's a way to preserve. Yes, there sure
the
is.
body.
Yeah.
There's a way to preserve it. And you can choose to do that. And there's a mechanic in the game where and it tells you like the. Most tooltips and loading screens, not useful. Tooltips in this game, very useful, but don't feel like it's leaving out critical information. It's just more like, hey, here's like some cool shit you can do. One of which is like your partner, he can, at a certain time, it's like, cool, you can like go to an area, he will go to sleep, but you can still keep walking around. Mm-hmm. And you can get up and to do it. You can do normal quests, you could continue the storyline, or you can like do some stuff that like Kim wouldn't be cool with, which for me was I wanted to collect these cool ass boots because the game goes out of its way to like make it clear these are some cool ass boots.
These are like
maybe
power armor boots, basically.
Yes.
These are like Space Marine.
Damn.
Like they're like the power armor from Fallout. You know what I mean? Like this is,
and they're very rare. You would like it's not something where it's like an aesthetic in the world. Like you will stick out.
You
like
would definitely cut them off a dead man's feet if you saw them.
I did not cut them off.
I would say that would have probably ruined them.
Yeah, I creatively moved the feet around, took them off. They were full of flesh and other gooey substances, but don't worry, Rob.
There's a plan.
There was a kitchen nearby where they cook food, and I just boiled those boots into the hot water and cleaned out those boots.
Probably cleaner than anything else in that kitchen, to be honest.
100%. They're making a lot of alcohol back in
They
there,
really
so
are.
everything's clean anyway. And this is the reason I'm telling this specific story is because it's the attention to detail in which I think we become there's a certain thing that we expect games to acknowledge because it's usually going to be the thing that's like in bold. You made choice. Game will reflect this choice. Like the telltale, like, we'll remember this. Like, cool, that'll come up again. And this game over and over pays attention to details that the game on some level doesn't need to acknowledge, but the fact that it acknowledges this over and over is one of like the defining characteristics of its like narrative detail, which is that you can get those boots and it could just be in your inventory, because in Disco Elysium, the way the stats system works is like you can assign perks to your like character sheet, but then let's say you really want to boost up a check that you don't have stats for, well, you can put on different equipment to kind of like temporarily boost yourself, or smoke or drink or do drugs. You can manipulate the system in different ways to accommodate what you want to do. I put on the boots absentmindedly, just like, oh, okay, I'll just put those on, and then slept, woke up the next morning, and then the first thing that happens is you go downstairs, you meet Kim, and you click on him, and he doesn't say anything to you. The first dialogue prompt is just look at these sick ass boots, and he just like rolls his eyes at you, and it's just like this dumb fuck that I am stuck with.
Yep.
It's just the fact that the game took the time to recognize me going out of my way to do an exceptionally small, completely inconsequential, no relevance to the plot in like an A-plot sense, but is so relevant to the actual A-plot, which is really just the journey of this character and the choices you make with them, illustrates just the level of detail that this game is running on. And it just, this happens over and over. You will just always be surprised at like, oh, the game is paying attention and acknowledging tiny little details that are much more meaningful than you might originally think.
I've had such a weird journey with this game in terms of wrapping back and forth around on it so many times, which I think is speaks to its like strength. That's not even a criticism, because like most games don't let me engage with them in that way. Most games, like I engage with it and go for the first like 30 minutes, like, oh, cool premise. Okay. And then let me just turn off parts of my brain, because otherwise I'm just going to not like this thing, or I'm just going to like, I need to like move to a certain type of criticism or a certain type of engagement that is distinct from the type that I try to bring to like fiction and stuff like that, because they're just not working in that space. And I think the opening couple of hours of this game definitely made me think that this was going to be more smoke than fire. We talked about this a couple of months ago when the game first came out, that it was like, I could tell there might be something here. There might be meat on the bones, but it's obscured by very abrasive prose. Or I guess the prose was actually beautiful, but the world was abrasive in such a way that it wasn't clear how edgelord versus how, like, the line between what they're doing, which is kind of like kind of social realism, hard-boiled detective fiction blend, versus edgelord shit, can be very thin in 2020, right?
And the tone,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
is all over the place.
Totally.
Like, I mean, if you like gave it an umbrella, it's darkly humorous, I think, would like be like the general description of it. But it is like at times you're like, am I supposed to be laughing? What am I laughing?
I think there was some
what am I laughing at? Who?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's certainly not by sheer volume of text and swings and different ways it can go. Almost inevitably, it's going to have some misses. There is one I'll say for the spoiler cast. There was one specific instance in how you treat like the first woman you run into in your neighbor, dude. Which just like it like just one of my little voice things took over and started calling this woman horrible things that did not feel in character. I just didn't it wasn't funny. And also it's really dense. Like the lore of the world is just thrown
that stuff I fucking love.
At you.
Yeah.
I know you do. I'm on the other end of it being like, I wish at times I could highlight text to be like, dude. What? I don't remember any. I don't know. And I do think it's meant to be intentionally overwhelming. I think
the Pyre system would be great here. The mouse over text, like almost like Twine game thing. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's meant to be overwhelmingly dense as well. Like it is verbose in a way. There are passages where it's describing things about the world that like you have no context for. I'm maybe, for a brain like yours, it clicks a lot faster. For me, I'm just like, what? I need this
Well,
is
like part of this is how high is your encyclopedia skill? Is it too high? Is
Right.
it not high enough? Like for me, one of the things that there was definitely a moment in the game where I put. So let me just like pause for a second because I'm sure everyone's heard people talk about this game at this point, but I just want to reiterate one key thing about the way the game works, which is you have a set of 20 skills or something like that. And each of them is a voice in your head, in your character's head. Each of them is, I've seen people describe it as being like a member of your party who will speak up in certain situations. And some of them seem to be like, even if they're like pretty low, they'll speak up a lot. So like, even if your rhetoric skill is pretty low or your, some basic stuff where it's just like, here is my volition, my will to live, my will to be, that will speak up whenever it's important, it seems. But certain stuff like encyclopedia will only speak up once you put a certain number of points into it. And that is like your collection of facts about the world. You're an amnesiac about your own life, but something deep in your brain still remembers what Revachol is, the kind of nation that you're in, or might still remember about the revolution from 50 years ago. And if that gets to a certain point, that stuff almost becomes overwhelming. There was a point at which my encyclopedia got so high, or I'd been interested in trivia enough that my encyclopedia score would like try to butt in like a nerdy trivia hound in my party, and just like anytime anyone said anything, my encyclopedia was like, I bet you'd like to know more about that, huh? And I'm like, calm the fuck down. Like, I don't need to know everything about this obscure disco artist from 25 years ago. And then it'd be like, are you sure? And I'd be like, no, I'm not sure. Tell me that shit. I gotta know that shit. Let me know.
Get that lore.
I gotta get that lore. And that ends up being for me one of the big victories of the game. There are some fantastic sequences in which the different kind of parts of yourself end up not I don't want to say like they're in conflict, but they offer different perspectives on the events that are unfolding. And as the game continued, that was a key part of what brought me through that early abrasion, that early friction with a tone that I will say the biggest critique I can make of that to the tone of this game is that I think you can tell that this is a game that was being developed over the course of the past decade, or at least over the past 5 years. There are times when you can really feel pre-2016 leftist energy throughout this whole game. Like, it is very 2015 dirtbag left, birth of Chapo era. Not only because a couple of the Chapo dudes are in it, but also because there is that vibe of I wrote in the top 10 list, like, this deep dissatisfaction with the world, but beyond that, this feeling of like, and what is there to be done? And that is where I ended up almost falling back off of it in bits towards the very end of the game, where it was really hard for me to see Patrick, you and I have talked about this in relation to podcasts like Citations Needed, or a lot of podcasts on the left, where it's like the step of including us, honestly. This is a critique I think has been fairly made to us.
The and then what?
The and then what, right? And I don't need every game to be I certainly don't need one game to be like, and this is it. But what I will say is the game's best strength is the way that it goes after centrism. This is a game that, like, the lore of this game is fundamentally twice, one about the failings of humanism, and then second, the failing of the kind of bourgeois in betraying the working class and aligning themselves with a sort of humanist impulse and siding with the capitalists during the last revolution. Like, that is what the two big historic moments of this world have been. One 300 years ago, one 50 years ago, and we're fucking stuck in the muck after that. And I definitely felt like this is a team of writers who could have conceived of some small corner of the world being a place where we saw resistance you could actually like root for. And so that is like the one hanging thing for me that I wish had been in the game. But despite that, what I was overwhelmed with, and what ended up being my biggest takeaway, was that I don't know that I've ever seen prose in a game communicate a love for a city and a local culture like this. I can't wait to do a spoiler cast. I want to call out specific quests and specific things. But I will note one tiny thing that is not even a quest, but it's a kind of a light gameplay spoiler, which is there is only one check in this game that you have to do. Everything else, and this is maybe one of the other best qualities of this game, is that it's a fail forward game. It's a game in which major plot things will happen and you will fail the dice roll on them and you will keep going forward. The plot will not stop.
But then sometimes you get a 2% chance to shoot at a rope with your gun, and motherfucker,
dude,
check success.
Ace is high. Ace is high. Best moment in the game. But
absolutely,
the only one check in the game that you have to succeed at is Shivers, which is the skill about kind of being one with the city around you, having the kind of pulse, the lifeblood of the town in your character. And this is the thing that, Rob, I want you to play this game just to put all your points into fucking Shivers. Because like Patrick put more points into Inland Empire. Rob put more points.
I have Shivers and Inland Empire, my two highest ones.
All right, good. They're two of my faves. And Shivers is just the best prose of like you look out onto this. It's Rob. It's you
the
looking
Chandler
out. It's the Chandler stuff, but it's also like me coming out onto the balcony here and being, where's Rob? Oh, Rob is outside of the balcony on at Vice, looking out over the harbor, the Brooklyn harbor, and soaking in the energy of the city around him. It is 100% that, and it ends up being the most important stat in the game in one sense. I think that ends up being the heart of this game. It's like it's about understanding the space that you're in and being devoted to the place that you're in. And like, if it is certainly not a pro cop game, despite being a game in which you are a cop. But what it is a game about if you're going to evoke change in a local space, in a space, it has to be done with the understanding, the knowledge of what that local space is. It has to come from a place of deep investment. And they back that up by having like the best writing in a game for the last few years, I think, come through that spectrum. I was kind of blown away by the quality of attention, the quality of writing, and then the attention paid to characters who either are introduced as kind of one-bit jokes or were kind of set up as
working class woman.
Yeah, working class. Did you finish that quest?
I haven't. I have found a certain
finish
thing
the quest.
and need
Finish
to go.
the quest. That is,
no, but I just mean.
I know what you mean.
Characters, you don't get a name. It's just working class woman, which the game uses as a fucking punchline a couple of times, and then the story goes to some really
finish that quest.
places.
That quest is spectacular. That was like not a boss fight, but the closest thing to being like, I cannot fuck this up. I cannot fuck this up. Really interesting.
Have you reloaded any checks?
A couple small things mostly.
Okay.
Mostly
All
things
right.
that are like where I did it the most was, do you know the place where you saved the body? That building has some stuff in it. It was like, I'm just curious. This is not A plot stuff. I don't think.
Yeah.
Let me like try some of this stuff out. It's a very easy game to save scum if you want to save scum your way through this thing.
But I do.
None of the red checks are the ones.
Yeah. So any of the major checks, like I've stayed committed to. I'm gonna just roll with the action because everyone's encouraged. The game just change. Like it is very much about like find your own story in it, and it'll always adapt. Like it's failure, like you said, it's just forward. It'll just do something a little bit different. And so I've tried to embrace that, but only when it's like, like there's one goofy check that's you just pick up a phone, and it's like you just get a feeling about dialing a phone number.
Oh yeah.
And if you fail the check, it's just like, nah, you're just fat fingers just mashed a bunch of buttons and nothing happened. But if you get it right, you just call like a random number. Like you just get this feeling about these sets of numbers and you just call a random business. And it's just like 6, off lines. You have a weird conversation and there's just a lot of that. I remember is one of the, without spoiling, like Shivers will sometimes do, this happened when you cross the bridge, but there was like a moment I got where the game informs you, it's just like I walked by an area and it said, you should just come back here when it's snowing. And then you do, and then you get a big like exposition like dump you where you can like learn about the world. Like it's that kind of game where it's just like, man, you just get this feeling in your gut you should come back when it's snowing. And then eventually as you walk around, it may eventually snow and then you come back and some stuff happens. But what a game.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how stuff shakes out for your character because I think your character is distinct from mine, despite having some similar points in places. We'll do it.
I refuse to let him gain too much redemption. I feel like this man has his sins need to weigh heavy. He's still trying to do good. He's out here.
But you're a superstar cop more than anything. Are you? Did you?
I found that man's jacket.
I
don't care if it smelled like vomit. I found that jacket.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on some stuff that they've been playing over the break? Anyone else dive deep into anything?
I played Destiny.
Okay. How's that? Oh, okay. But listen, it's been a month since last time we talked about Destiny. Probably.
That's true. Probably.
Has Destiny did they roll out in like holiday stuff?
There's also the start of the new season happened.
Okay, so they wrapped up the kind of starter season for
Yeah.
the new expansion. How's it? What is the new?
The new stuff is back on Mercury with Osiris and also Saint 14.
Okay.
Who was lost to time in the Infinite Forest and eventually killed.
Saint 14 is like a Titan who is
Yeah.
super like a legendary Titan.
Yeah.
Right.
His helmet was in the first game,
Right.
and like that was kind of the only thing you got, and it's like this great like kind of Spartan. It's got like the Spartan feathers, but then the front is like just like two half spheres almost basically with a slit down the middle, but one of the half spheres is dented.
Great.
Because like the most famous thing he did is like kill like some enemy with a headbutt. But so this character has been kind of like through the lore since the beginning of Destiny, and so it was really exciting to see that they're gonna kind of like have him be a character.
Yeah.
Spoilers, I don't know. It's if you go into that game, you'll see now. If you open Destiny, you will see now that Titan Saint 14 is in the tower. He's like a new like
Is
NPC
he like an
that's
NPC?
just like hanging out.
Does he give quests and stuff? Or?
Yeah, he totally gives
So
quests.
is he back from being dead?
Yes, you break the time loop and
nice.
You give him back his old shotgun that apparently you gave him the first time too.
But you haven't done that yet?
Yeah, you haven't. Yeah, you did. What it's interesting. This is their first like kind of season in their new like season model, where they're trying to do some like not just like a new activity that has like quests that are like do this X amount of times or in a certain way. Also quest activities that are like we're still telling a narrative through this season, which they started with Shadowkeep, and that did that really well. This one, like I bounced off the first week pretty hard because they do this unfortunate thing where if you go to Osiris and you like check his quests, there's like two quests. One of them ends up being like a kind of grindy, just like you're gonna get a good gun at the end of this, but like you have to do a bunch of different steps. And the other one is the story quests, and they don't after you do the first step of the story quests, it basically there's like four options when you go to Osiris, and once you pick one up, the other ones disappear until you finish it. You go back, and so there was like I was like, am I missing something? Are there not any story quests this season? They said that they were doing more narrative, and then I just got like into other games. I finished Control. That's the thing
nice.
I did. When did that happen? Was that over the? Yeah, it must have been. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think you'd finish it by the time we did.
No,
end of
yeah,
year stuff.
totally. Fuck, I finished
Good ending.
Control. Huh?
Good ending.
It's an. Is it an ending?
Does anything ever end?
I mean, let me put it this way. I think the trip through the ashtray maze is an incredible, like, denouement feeling thing that happens.
Yeah.
And then the game continues, and then it stops. And it's like to be continued.
Right.
And it's very frustrating, but also very
it's
remedy.
a season. Yeah, it's a season ender. Like, as my guess is the best way. If somehow you could just hold off to play this game next fall, it's probably the way to do it.
It'll
because
have everything in there.
I bet with all that stuff connected with the two big
Yeah,
story
yeah.
expansions will make it feel like a more complete experience.
I feel like I got the ashtray maze like oversold to me a little bit. I was expecting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah,
it was
good,
cool. It was
but,
a good set. But it's a set piece. Less than like I expected something else because people kept saying it was
Right.
like kept typing it up in a way.
No, and my like, the thing that bugged me about the ashtray maze, the sequence really had me, but then it went on a bit too long.
Yeah.
Like when it first unveils itself to you and it begins to feel like you are, the analogy I used was, it feels like a shooter level made out of a James Bond credit sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
With like the tricks of perspective and like graphic design. But then it goes on a touch too long, and then at the end, she goes like, that was awesome. And the moment you do that, it's less awesome. The minute the game like high fives itself, I'm like, well, hold on now. I mean, it was a good set piece.
Yeah, yeah, it was solid. The last run though was real rough. Like after the ashtray maze, between that and the end, like I actually probably died the most I've ever died in that game. Right in that 10-minute like combat section.
Wait, that's where the game explicitly says we're giving you the end game power up.
No.
Right?
Before that, on the way up.
Oh shit! Fuck that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Rob, I remember you being.
As
I remember there were towards the end of that game, there were moments when you were like, I don't know if I can do it. Like this, they're asking too fucking much.
well,
Almost
to
like
be
you need a
fair,
shield.
I had only half my powers.
Oh, I forgot.
right.
Of course.
That's
Of course.
that must have
Literally
been
couldn't block.
hell.
Wait, what did he not have?
The shield.
Okay.
right?
Wow.
Yep.
What?
And
Didn't have mind control.
which is huge. Mind control was key to my entire strategy. It's like you walk into a room, bzz, bzz,
Yeah.
put up that shield,
Yep.
and wait for people to tear themselves apart.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
How did you make it past that last? I wouldn't even. Jesus. That last combat
So I
section
basically
was
had
too much.
maxed out flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once I did it, it felt awesome. like once I had sort of like internalized, like, okay, here's the logic of how the sequence is going to play out. And there's a point where, like, it did piss me off because I think it's one of the few times where the game really forces you to change up tactics, because usually you always have room to kite around and back away from different enemy types. But here, because you're on the sequence of raised platforms, suddenly there are just parts of this end game encounter.
What?
Yeah. What's up,
Did
Siri?
you just hear that?
I did.
Yeah.
Is everything okay, Siri?
What just searched?
What did it?
Is your phone an object of power?
I just searched logic of how the sequence is going to play out, and there's a point where, like, it did piss me off because I think it's one of the few times the game released for since you have a change of tactics, because usually you always have room to kite around and back away from different enemy types, but here, because you're obviously the sequence of race platforms. Race platforms.
Race platforms?
Sequence of race
Excuse me?
platforms. The GOP 1968 to 2020.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Feel like that could be a thought catalog in Disco Elysium as well.
Yeah.
Point
Race
is-
platforms? It is. Yeah. God, you
Point
talk
is,
to Measurehead. and-
you're at a sequence of gun battles where, for once now, you don't have room to just back off and like kite around the arena. You have to like kill heavy enemies at a range of like 10 feet,
Yeah.
and that's it. I did kind of like the game force that switch up.
It was rough though. It was rough.
you got through it.
I got through it eventually.
Nice.
Yeah. I like.
Is really dead?
Yes.
Is this a
Are we
spoiler that
sure?
we should bleep out?
Probably.
Okay. Mark it.
I don't think he's dead. I think he's the breakout character of 2019.
No one's ever really dead. That's what Pharrell taught me.
Right.
No one ever
That's
really
what the
dies.
Christmas season is all about.
Yeah. Huh? Wait. No. Wrong holiday. Wrong Christian holiday. That's Easter.
Anyways, Destiny's
it's like the
quests are
prequel.
confusing and they're bad, but when you actually get into the missions that have Saint 14 in them and you go back in time and shit, it's really fun.
Destiny Control.
Speaking of going back in time,
Yeah. Did you ever wish you could go back? Would you ever wish you could rewind time? God. Anyone else put any time into anything over the break? Besides like TV shows, because that was my big thing.
Like halfway through that new Expanse season.
I just got to season 4. I'd been back. Had watched season 1 and then fell off all the way because of getting busy. And so I watched 2 and 3 over the break.
Nice.
I watched all of Watchmen over the break, and I watched something else. Movies.
Thumbs up or thumbs down. I watch.
Thumbs middle on Watchmen.
yeah.
I'm like we should do a Waypoints about them. Saw Star Wars. Don't want to talk about Star Wars.
Well, secretly.
But I secretly want to talk a lot about it. But I want to
Yeah.
finish Mandalorian before I talk about Star Wars because we have a larger Star Wars talk. We should take a break, and when we come back, we can talk about some other things. I know, Rob, you told me a game you played that was not a new release that I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on.
Shocking.
And I would also like to talk some more about Final Fantasy. So we'll come back. We'll take a break.
Wow, the middle finger over the camera.
I'm excited about it. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Patrick, talk.
Yeah, 1098-765.
He's still pretty quiet to me, man, but I can
Here,
turn him up.
it was at 95, then I went to 50. Let's go to
70s
75.
tend to be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
feel
middle
like,
is usually the place to be.
I feel like that's a good.
There is I'm pretty sure I turned down, like, because the way, like, thought catalogs unlock in Disco is, like, sometimes you can just, it's like a skill check that turns into, you make a choice. But there wasn't there a centrist one
dude,
that pops up?
Yes, a good yes. That is like one of the core things of the four. There are kind of four main things. It's communism, fascism, moralism, which is centrism, and then whatever they're like full on laissez-faire capitalism.
Yeah.
The moral intern is the centrist one. Like that is the thing about Disco Elysium is like our world, the centrist one, the third wave paved over everything else.
Yeah, but I just think it's fascinating where it's like in most games you want to accrue all of the skills that you can equip.
Oh, right.
In this game, you actively can turn down getting what would turn into a skill. Like there seems to be no plot consequence for a thought catalog equip, but in a sense you're saying like, yeah, cool, centrism is fine. Like, yep, give me that plus whatever
Well,
as a result of that.
The thing that's interesting is there's kind of two steps because there is unlocking a thought will open up new dialogue options along that thought's path, even if you don't equip the thought. But equipping the thought gives you bonuses. So, for instance, I got the Apocalypse.
So you agreed
Cop.
to the centrism one?
No,
Or you turned it down.
I turned it down.
Okay,
Absolutely
all right.
not.
Okay.
Also,
okay.
you know what? I don't even think I got the set. You know what I did? I got the centrism one because I wore the centrism pants for a second. They were just like there's like beige pants, like very normie pants, and there's a point at which it was like, you know what? You kind of just want to be a normal guy. You just kind of these pants are making you feel like maybe the right thing is right in the middle between everything else. I don't want to be clear. Like, this is a game where your tie talks to you a lot. If you have on the Inland Empire weird tie, Patrick, wear that tie. As someone who's going towards Inland Empire, Cado, you're playing this game. Wear that tie. That tie.
I'm wearing that tie. That tie's already talking to me.
That tie saved a friend's life.
Wow.
Is what I will say.
I've had to like tuck it away a couple times.
100%.
Just, like,
Yeah,
get
I've
outta
been wearing
here.
the bow tie because I think the bow tie that I got added drama, and I want drama in this game.
wore that- I wore that bow tie,
which is not actually what the drama perk does. It mostly just allows you to be like
you're fucking
ridiculous,
lying,
like
or yeah.
Or there was a one with like try to whistle. Like,
Did you fail that?
I failed the skill check.
That was a great scene. If you pass it, that's a great scene. I bet it's funny even if you do fail it. Anyway, I wore that bow tie. I wore a very ridiculous
the bow tie
outfit.
or the necktie?
The bow tie is the drama one that Patrick was talking about. The necktie is Inland Empire.
Ugly...
That's a beautiful tie. It's a painted. Listen, that tie.
No, I think it's called
ugly tie.
ugly something necktie. Is it the first? It's the first
It's the
one.
first one.
Yeah,
It's the one
yeah.
that's
It's
on
like
the- on the-
it's called like ugly. Blah blah blah.
It's a beautiful tie that is my friend.
Good, great.
So there's that. Anyway, Rob Zachney, what did you spend your time off playing? Talk to me about video games that you think are some. I actually don't know where you came down on this, so I can't even really throw to you cleanly.
Well, I mean, first of all, to be clear, I was away from all my games for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
So it's not like I only played this game. It's just when I came home, I had a little hankering. I had a yen, let's say. And that was for Batman Arkham Asylum, which is on Game Pass right now, along with Arkham City.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think this has been sort of percolating in the back of my mind because I played Arkham Knight not that long ago. And I was just kept getting struck by like, this feels so different from what I remember really liking about that series. And I wanted to revisit whether Arkham Asylum was as good as I remembered it being, and to see whether I was correct in that. The move to an open world thing that happens with Arkham City, and then the just feature creep that sort of defines Arkham Knight, whether I was sort of correct in arguing that before all that stuff got introduced, it was just a better game. And I think the answer is yes. But I think it's even more subtle than that. I wanted to play kind of a, you know, I don't know. It's one of those good like winter vacation games, right? Where it's like, you know, protagonist locked in a creepy old mansion, right? It's like the video game equivalent of like an Agatha Christie in
totally.
some ways,
An
right?
Agatha
It's like,
Christie,
ooh, here's the gothic,
or a certain style of like horror movie where like not like a Disney horror movie. Do you know what I mean? Like a very
yes,
like and honestly, what I actually mean is not a horror movie at all. What I mean is a theme park attraction, like what's the big one? What's the big horror theme one at Disney World?
Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion. It's basically Haunted Mansion, but you get to hang by the rafters and beat up Killer Croc a few times. A few too many times, maybe. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
No, he's way too easy. Yeah, no. I think I was really struck by how much more grounded the game feels. I think the nice thing that Arkham Asylum has going for it is that the whole idea in the Batman series is that Arkham is already kind of a heightened, bizarre, gothic location within Gotham, even by the standards of that world. And I think what that means is that in other versions of like imagining Gotham City, it can still look mostly like a normal city, right? Like it becomes more and more preposterous as you begin playing up that like Gotham is this fallen metropolis. Just, you know, the streets are rife with crime. You can't take 2 steps out your door without getting like killed by the Riddler or something like that. And everything, it's always raining and there's always like gargoyles on everything. But on Arkham Island, that all makes kind of sense, right? It's this creepy cursed mansion that's been converted into like a 19th century bedlam, and then has had all the, and in this version has had all the sort of accoutrement of like federal supermax layered on top of that. And that becomes the stage for Arkham Asylum. And I think what I dug about this is it doesn't feel all that exaggerated when I played this first game. It feels like, okay, this is a cool Batman adventure, but it doesn't have the sort of all of these sliders cranked up to 10 feeling of later Batman games where, and I think this is the arc a lot of movies followed as well, right? That the Tim Burton Batmans keep pushing up like, what does Gotham feel like? It needs to feel even more fantastical. And that gives us, you know, the Joel Schumacher version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to go go from lights in the fog, and if you keep turning the light up, eventually you get to neon lights, right? Like that is the and then you get to neon lights as you get to neon lights in the background, then you get to neon lights as the characters, right? Like it keeps displacing the sort of whatever was flare once becomes uniform second, right? And that is, I think,
and I think that's it exactly. Like this first game, when that sort of lighting, like when Ivy takes over the island and everything becomes like sort of lurid and like lush and tropical, and the lighting all changes, it feels like, oh shit, like the entire environment has been transformed by this one character. But prior to that, it's all like institutional, like floodlights and arc lighting. It's all, you know, grimy institutional floors, hard metal, security gates, etc. And it's a pretty grim and dismal environment that's been clearly retrofitted onto an old Gothic mansion. And I think the games that followed in the series all started to feel like Gotham was in that second or third phase that you were talking about, right? Where the flare has become uniform.
Yeah.
And I think that also follows from just the story that is told here. Like the first few hours of Arkham Asylum are great. Genuinely, it is a really cool series of, I'd forgotten how much of this game is just things going haywire while Batman is belatedly trying to react to it.
What is the catalyst of this game again? Like, what is the thing that brings you to? Because it has been 5 years since I played this game, probably.
Aren't you slow walking Joker, right?
Is that this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It opens on you've just captured Joker and brought him back to Arkham, but Batman is like, he turned himself in. It was too easy. This clearly wasn't his real plan. I'm going to see him into the prison, and before you can get him into secure custody, obviously he stages his escape, and then all hell breaks loose. But what I had forgotten is that in my head I was like, okay, the game opens with Joker taking over the asylum, and then the rest of it is you wresting control back. That's actually not the arc. It is like the first 3 or 4 hours of this game is Batman like trying to and failing to catch up with what is happening. So the first 3 or 4 hours of this game, like the first hour is, okay, we're in the middle of an escape attempt. There's all these Arkham guards wandering around like, what is going on? Like I hear shooting, like half my team is dead. What am I supposed to do? And everyone you meet, Batman keeps being like, stay safe, remain hidden. I'll take care of this. The Joker's mine. And then you go off into a new location and do Batman shit. And then you come out.
I think you mean the Golden Globe award-winning Joker is mine.
Oh god.
Oh god, did it? I
Yeah.
tuned that out.
Joaquin Phoenix won for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, he's very good. Anyway.
Please say that in your Batman voice.
He's very good.
There we go.
But every
He's
time
talking
you
to his
come out
dog.
from one of those adventures, you discover that, like, oh, in the time Batman has been off putting out this fire,
Right.
another wave of guards and hospital staff have been murdered and like strung up, and like more of the prison, like it's like, oh wow, everybody's dead, and now there's like Blackgate goons taking over the grounds of the mansion. 2 hours later, you come back. The Blackgate goons have now cracked open the armory and are wearing prison equipment, like
They're
prison
in the
guard uniforms and
watchtowers.
armor.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah.
And so it's like 3 or 4 hours of Batman being like, I've got this. And like goes off and like tunnel visions on his next objective, comes back, and everybody he saved, everyone he was like, you're safe now, just stay here. Everyone is fucking dead. And the other thing I kind of like about this game is that the other thing I'd sort of forgotten is how much it really does exaggerate the degree to which Batman is a fundamentally oblivious character. And this is part of the what has become like kind of a cliche critique of Batman, right? Which is that he treats symptoms, but he is completely blind to causes. He's completely reactionary. As opposed to addressing like systemic issues. This is the problem with the character. But in Microcosm and Arkham Asylum, what is happening is he gets there and he can't figure out what the Joker's up to. What could his plan be? Damn, why did the Joker want to get back to Arkham? And on the PA address system in Arkham are ads for Arkham's new like mental health clinics and workshops you can send your kid to be evaluated. But then they have interviews with the staff, and sort of the mad scientist character who's really key to the Joker's plans is just talking on the background in like, a PR video about, so we've been doing a lot of Josef Mengele style experiments.
Like you do.
We have discovered a way to cure criminal insanity with a super drug that basically takes over people's minds and makes them compliant. And that's going to be the future of healthcare at Arkham. Thumbs up. And Batman has not noticed this. Like, think about how often he's bringing people back to Arkham. Riddler escaped again. Back to Arkham with you. And for the last 6 months, it's been Arkham is taken over by this crew of mad scientists and empty suits who have basically been creating super drugs, experimenting on prisoners, and have basically created everything that Joker might want to kill all of Gotham and create an army of super soldiers. And this is the first moment, only because the Joker took over Arkham, that Batman has paused long enough at Arkham to be like, hey, fuck's going on around here?
Yeah.
And it's like literally all you had to do was just like stop and like watch the things they were putting out, and you'd realize like, oh, this place is going off the rails. But that is not Batman's strong suit, shall we say.
No, not so much. You're reminding me that on top of watching the Watchmen show, I ended up going back and reading this most recent 12-issue run, Doomsday Clock, which is the Watchmen DC crossover, which has a lot of Batman in it. And man, good Batman is real good. Bad Batman is rough. I will say this: I like the Watchmen TV show quite a bit more than I liked the DC Watchmen universe crossover stuff that just happened. Which is
was it like amped up Frank Miller Batman?
No, it's just like. It's just like makes smartest man in the world, except for when we need him to make terrible decisions and jump to conclusions. And you know what I mean? Which that happens in Batman stories a lot because you need to have conflict. But there are some decisions made by that character that I was like, this is not my Bruce Wayne, which ends up being like, that's not literally a twist in the story, but the intrinsic nature of the DC universe to change over time and kind of contort itself around narratives is a key point of that story, which is weird. I don't love. Off mic, Cado's like giving me some inquisitive looks. I will tell you some of the fucking stuff. From that story. It's very weird and not like a what if. The Doomsday Clock series for DC is like this is it's what sets up the next big continuity change.
Wow.
It's not,
that seems terrible.
Dude,
that
it's rough.
Terrible.
It's like...
Go do your fanfic, like, off
well,
to the
and it's Jeff
side.
Johns who wrote it, who is, like, not a bad comics writer, but it's, like, a rough... it was just not... I did not like it very much. There's, like, one interesting thing about the meta-narrative that it, like, just starts to touch on, and then it ends up going a little bit... It ends up being the most... let's when we talk about Watchmen, the show at some point. I will bring that in and talk about the full spoilers. Because I actually like one of my issues with both is Dr. Manhattan stuff. But we'll talk about that when we talk about that.
It's DC's weird because it always feels like they try to sync up the timeline and be like, universe tying events. And then once that dies down, it's like, okay, here's the spin-off stuff that all the characters are going off in their directions, and now the interesting stuff can happen. But it does sort of create this really circular vibe to a lot of the DC universe, where it's like, oh, we're flipping that script again, and we're rebooting yet again.
Yeah, totally. One of the core concerns of that comic. So again, we'll talk about it when we do a Waypoints, or we can catch up on some TV and some other stuff.
But I'll just say, it's a good game.
It's still a good game. Did you wrap it? Did you finish it?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did. I think the first 3/4 of that game are terrific. At the end of the game, it turns into boss fight mania. And that's basically what it has for denouement, is it's run out of ways to change up the sort of conventional encounter design. It's basically exhausted its possibilities for that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so what it goes to is, what if you have giant punch-up brawls with multiple boss characters all at once? And we just did that for the last hour of the game. And that's not terribly interesting, and also in part because video games tend to... The video game version of the Joker's final evil plot is what you get in Arkham Asylum, which is the Joker gets all jacked up on super steroids, and it's just the Joker.
He's called Venom,
but he big.
He's Venom Joker.
Venom Joker.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 5.
He's just enormous.
And Venom Joker. Yeah. No, he is. Yeah,
and it's like,
it is the goofiest shit. It is the most that Path of Neo style. Well, it's a video game, so let's fucking turn it to 11 because I'm more restrained.
We know this doesn't work, but here we go. Yeah, and that's very much what happens here at the end, and I think this is probably sort of a foreshadowing of maybe what goes wrong with the series. I think this first game is okay being a video game version of a good 2-part episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
It's written by Paul Dini, who was, story lead on the animated series. And it has that feel. But at the end of the game, it's got to raise the stakes. And every game that follows is like, okay, so we started with Giant Joker last time.
Where do we go?
All
up
of
from
Arkham
there?
City's a prison. Holy shit, right? Mind-blowing. Although, again, events overtaking games at a certain point. Like, I think a decade ago, I was like, the people of Arkham seriously just turned their society into an open-air prison where they just created, like, a cast of prisoners that they just abandoned to their fate.
Well,
that would never happen. And
Not
now
in
I'm
my
like,
America.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I wish they'd found more boxes to put Batman in, because that's part of the strength of that first game is that it's a pretty tightly constrained space, and they find ways to make the equivalent of that. And like, you go into a place and then it's controlled there, but there was a beauty and elegance to just being Arkham Asylum. And I wish they had found, I understand the draw that they're like, let's do the whole city. I think the draw of that was like not nearly the negative effects of building the city out. It's a bad city. They didn't simulate anything, right? It's like they didn't go far enough with the
Spider-Man
city
version of that game would have been great. Do you know what I mean? The version of that game where I'm in Gotham and am doing Batman shit in the open world would be great. But instead, I'm just kind of like grapple hooking to like fights that I can have or solving riddle or puzzles, but it never feels like a city. It never feels alive. It doesn't feel. I wrote this piece for Giant Bomb years ago that was like, the thing that I want most. The thing about Batman is that he loves Gotham City. He has a very high Shivers score, and has this deep connection to Gotham. And that is part of, and like, we're bracketing away the bits in which I think as a billionaire, blah, 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 blah. But, but that deep connection is what you have to sell that deep connection by showing the city. And my favorite Batman comics, my favorite Batman animated TV show or series episodes do this. There's like small stories about a city that is a real city that is alive, where the people aren't just like all hiding in their apartments, or where the city hasn't been like blocked off and turned into a prison. That stuff is actually really effective. And I think there's a way to do that as an open world game that is fantastic. And instead what we got were what you're saying, these little boxes that you could go to. The Mr. Penguin has taken over this club. Mr. Freeze has frozen the police station, whatever. And then in between is just like, I mean, those are literally the things. Yeah. And then in between, it's just like, not random encounters even, because it doesn't feel random. It's just like, here's an arena. Here's an arena challenge, except it's in a city street. Here's a race through the sky.
It's incidental. It doesn't feel like it's part of like what would even be a natural consequence of the city if you just like set aside the high concept being patently absurd.
Right.
Even in that context, I never.
Because the thing is, they do. They eventually do. Arkham Knight and Arkham Origins are both games in which you're in Gotham and it's not a big prison. It's just for some reason, no one is out and about anymore. Don't worry about the lack of civilians.
Yeah, Origins does the Max Payne thing where it's like, it's the worst blizzard in 100 years.
Yeah.
And so, as we all know, blizzard rules means there's no law, only vigilantes and criminals.
It's the purge.
And Arkham Knight is the Arkham Scarecrow has given the city 3 days to evacuate,
Right.
and so everyone was just like, "I'm gone."
Peace.
Which by Arkham Knight, I would no longer.
No one would live in the city. Right. That is the other thing is no one would live in this fucking town. Huh? Say it again.
Well.
Yeah, who would buy it?
Who's going to buy property in Arkham?
Right.
In Gotham.
In Gotham. Never in my fucking life. If Vice had called me 4 years ago or whatever, Giant Bomb called me 5 years ago when I was up in Canada, and they're like, hey, we got an opening. We're here in Gotham. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to change industries. I'm not trying to make it in games journalism. I have to live in the town that fucking Scarecrow gasses every 3 months. Peace. Not worth it. Also, the rent is what? No. Never in my life. New York exists in this world. In the world that Gotham City exists.
How have we not had a gentrification arc in Gotham in Batman comics?
There must have. There definitely
we're like Lex Luthor is just taking over distressed real estate.
Yeah.
And like, because
I think that's happened. But that has to have happened in the animated series, even, right? Where like, Bruce Wayne donates a lot of money to this like homeless shelter, but the mob is going to try to move in and turn it all into condos or something, and then he punches someone, and that saves the day because that's how economic change happens. Anyway, I'm sure he donated a lot of money.
Over time, got like the thing about Batman and Gotham. I think this is true of a lot of like stuff that toes the line with heroism with a dose of grimdark. is that eventually you have to get to what Morgan Freeman says at the end of 7, right? Where he comes around to the conclusion that what's the exact line? Fuck, I'm botching it now. But basically, the world will break everyone. The world. It's not the Hemingway quote, but it's a variant of it, where he says, "The world is worth fighting for," basically. And I think if you push things far enough in that grimdark direction, eventually you end up with a setting that is so nihilist that the possibility for heroism and meaningful action kind of disappears, because there is no point in fighting for it anymore, because it always just goes to shit so quickly and so fast, and everyone in a society is so broken and debased by it that all your good intentions are instantly for naught. And I think that is where you have to be careful with characters like Batman and settings like Gotham, which is that eventually you need to create the possibility for some sort of positive change. And it doesn't have to be lasting change, but it has to be like meaningful positive impact in the world. And I think over the course of the Arkham games, the vibe you start to pick up is like, man, Bruce, I don't know if this is worth it. This seems, I'll bet Clark could use some help up in Metropolis.
Yeah, that place has its issues, but they're not turning the whole thing into a prison.
Yeah.
I would rather be destroyed by Metallo anyway.
Hugo Strange won a referendum to turn the city into a prison.
Right.
That's pretty
People
fucked.
voted. They campaigned on that.
Hugo Strange, you say?
Yeah.
He's got some good ideas.
Fuck. Anyway, Arkham Asylum still holds up. That's good to know. I'm glad. That's a relief in some ways, Cool. Cado, did you play anything else? Patrick? Anyone else?
Anyone watch The Witcher?
Not yet.
No.
I need to. Again, Expanse and Watchmen were my big TV shows. Are you on it? Are you digging
I watched
it?
I read some of the reviews, put a finger to the wind. I gotta be so careful with is this gonna be like a Katie and I show, or is this like a me show? And I was like, I'll watch the first episode and then I'll get a sense of it. She's not big on fantasy anyway, and so it'd be like a big lift to even just say let's watch this video game show. And she the eyes would roll to the back of her head. And watched the first episode and did not. I think Henry Cavill.
I don't know.
Henry Cavill. I don't. He nails it. He's terrific. It's great. His gravelly voice feels echoes the character, but without feeling like he's doing a shitty imitation. But the storytelling, everyone, I guess I tweeted that I didn't like it, and people were saying oh yeah, it's doing a specific narrative thing that will make more sense as it goes along. It's great, but that makes for a really crummy first episode. There's a bunch of intersecting plot lines that are, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's specific. I was fine with being spoiled. Just I have a sense of why I don't know. It was fine. I'm gonna keep watching it because I think actually he's good enough that I just want to see what he does. He fights good as hell. He looks good as hell, and he carries himself with a gravitas that I'm enjoying. Also, he's such a fucking nerd. I did not realize how big. There was I saw some clip recently that was someone interviewed him and said PS4 or Xbox, and he goes, bro, PC. And I was just cracking up. That's cool. That's cool. To be able to live your. He grew up playing games, got into the Witcher comics or the novels before they were even a book series, and that's cool as hell. So it seems fine, but people say it gets decently good towards the end. And I got to hear what this fucking song is.
Everybody's talking about the fucking song.
I've heard the song,
and I refuse to look it up. I don't want to.
You should watch
Austin.
Okay.
I'm not saying shit.
All right.
You said.
Oh.
I've heard the song. That's all.
Is it catchy?
I've heard the song.
Wow. All right. How? Okay.
You
would know. I want to know how far it is.
I have no idea. Yeah, it's just I just looked it up and out of context, and also you have to understand I'm a fucking spoil sport. I'm not here for fun. The fuck out of here. I'm not here. I'm watching AGDQ right now. Not right now, but it's on. And Honk is the big meme this year, and it's killing me because I'm such a downer.
Aw.
It's just Orb. You remember Orb?
Orb.
Orb.
Yeah.
It was okay. Partially because I think the word orb is fun.
Yeah.
But this year, because of Goose Game, it's Honk. And it's just killing me. It's just, I don't want to hear it. I don't. And
Wait, are people doing it or the chat's doing it?
the people are writing both. But like people are, it's like the yell from the back of the room. Like
That's bad.
We're gonna
Whatever.
donate.
I was like, chat's always terrible, but the people should know better.
Orb has a roundness to it. It brings you in. Orb, like great sound. Honk is specifically abrasive and aggressive, and And I like, no, I'm good. Bad sound. Turn it down a little bit. Anyway.
One last thing, because I played it this morning and I'm going to write about it, but I want to shout it out here on the podcast because there are probably some people that just listen to the podcast. I'm trying to load up the level. Cado, you watched me play this. I'm going to
Zelda level.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the letter code. When did I start playing this? I'll find that as I describe it. So I'm going to spoil the trick if you don't want to know the trick, because the trick is such a delight and is very key to how it works.
Is there a name to this level or anything?
I'm trying to find that. I'm like scrolling through the Cado. If I send you this, if I describe it, can you kind of scrub through this to see if you can find the level code?
Yeah,
so I will put it in our chat. Anyway, it's a state. So Link launched on Mario Maker 2 back in December. And one of the like quirks of it is that you can't just like assign players to be Link. It's a power up that you pick up. And so if you are Link and then you get hit, you turn into Mario. And levels will accommodate for that. You can have pipes like shoot them out, so you can never not be Link if you choose to. So it's not like a level becomes unbeatable. There are accommodations for that. But you typically, there's been, this is early days, but like I've seen some levels where it's like, hey, I've designed a level with 2 paths, and one path is Mario, the other path is Link, or like one section is Mario, one section is Link. This level, you load into it and it drops a sword onto you immediately, like boom, you're Link, and it's like, oh, okay, like I'm playing a Link stage, and so you're trying to overcome 3 tests of wisdom, power, and courage. The 3 parts of the Triforce, so that you can get through the area. And like there are different sort of like tricks that are set up in each of these areas. And it's kind of a trolley level where like sometimes the indicators on screen are suggesting to do something on the right way, and it's not actually the case. And so it's like, oh, okay, it's one of these levels where I got to like figure out what to do and go forward. And it's clever enough in that regard. And then you get through courage, wisdom, and power, and you get to like boom, like this. I'm headed to the exit room, and you head to the exit room, and all of us, as you're descending down like a hole, there is text on the screen that says, "Don't be Link," and all of a sudden you're like, excuse me, and then as it turns out, you are supposed to hold right, not pick up the sword that the game purposely drops in you at the beginning, and there's a whole separate way to go through the level purely as Mario that is like a like opposite of like what you were doing as Link, and the level is just built that in a hidden capacity that you would have no indication that that's like there are no telltale signs that's like, hey, like this is what you do with Mario. It's like every gimmick is set up with like, use the shield to like block this this rock and like turn this so that opens up an area. It's so cleverly, it's doing a lot of things outside the player's field of view to set up this like very funny joke at the end. And then as you go through, it's just like moment after moment, you're like, but how would you even do this as Mario? And then of course the level has an answer for that. And it's very, very clever. Do you have any luck finding it, Cado?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to just read it?
Laws Twoll TWOLL dash light princess. Twoll light princess. Troll is the name of the.
Okay.
The number, if somebody wants to go look it up, is PW908446LG.
And I should say, like the big payoff at the end is that when you go through as Mario and you finish it, then you earn the sword at the end, because you actually went through trials of power, courage, and wisdom, because each one like is playing with a different sort of mechanic. And so it's like, yeah, you don't just get that sword at the beginning. Like you've got to actually earn that, and at the end you get it, and then the level ends. It's just extremely clever.
Let me briefly update people on my journey through Final Fantasy XIV.
I got a sense of finality from reading your Game of the Year write-up.
Not yet. In fact, I wrote that before. I probably played another 20 hours between writing that, that update and now. So no. But finality, I'm reaching a point where I would be comfortable getting off the train.
Okay.
I blew through Heavensward compared to... So Heavensward was the first big expansion of the game. It had been really hyped up to me in terms of, like, this... there's a lot of... You've been through this with something in your life when someone says, like, all right, just get through the first 3 episodes. Just get through the first season. Just get through the first 2 seasons. Just get through... Get to hour 20. Get to hour 50. Then it's good from... I promise. Get through the first 12 chapters, and then it gets good. And... Heavensward was like the de facto one of those for Final Fantasy XIV for me. Or people were basically like, you're going to get through A Realm Reborn. That's going to be like, podcast, game. Yeah. Then the patches are going to be your breaking point. The patches being from the end of 2.0 to 2.5. These updates 100 quests, that many of which are bad, some of which are really good. But maybe somewhere in there you'll be like, oh, I'm on board. But you will be on board by the time you get like in Heavensward, you will be on board. Heavensward is interesting and it's better. It's so much better than A Realm Reborn. I mentioned the start of this on a past episode, but like by the end of that series of 2.0 patches, by 2.5 and 2.55, they've gotten so much better at just telling a story, having characters who have clear motivations, about focusing the camera on those characters, about animation, like having characters that animate well and making the voice acting a little bit stronger and being more willing to go kind of like push the stakes in terms of narrative stuff. And that carries into Heavensward. And I've said this before, but it opens up with like some great narration that is like a retrospective, it's like reading the memoir of an NPC in this world who is like, and then the Warrior of Light came to our town and blah, 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 blah. And, who could imagine what would happen next? And Heavensward is interesting. It is a story about this city, this nation called Ishgard, which has beef with dragons, like ancestral historical, beef from hundreds of years ago. Generational, like deep generational beef. That is also a kind of very stratified nation of kind of a higher, four noble houses and then countless kind of peasants below them who are, the ones who are doing what is necessary for there to be a nation. And that is something the game is interested in. It's like very much interested in how those class dynamics got made. And that stuff is pretty interesting. And the bulk of the game is basically, the bulk of the story is there is a dragon who wants to come destroy everything, who's like getting ready to come bust shit up. And you are trying to forge a way forward to stop that from happening, but also to maybe end it peacefully. And all along, you're kind of like traveling with a couple of different major characters. You end up having, there's a pretty strong middle of this arc where you're basically traveling with one character who is like devoted his whole life to becoming the premier dragoon, the premier dragon killer. And you're also working with this woman who has led kind of pro-dragon radicals who believes she has knowledge about the secret history of the past and like why this war escalated to begin with. And that group, and also Alphino is there and he still sucks. In fact, he sucks more now that he sucks less. Like that is actually the most disappointing thing, is that towards the end of the pre-Heavensward stuff, this little shit who thought he was the king of the universe and thought he could do anything kind of gets put in his place because he realizes you can't just like friendship your way through politics. You can't just like make the world be good together because you got a bunch of kings to say like, we'll be cool. That in fact there are other interests that are not just the people at the table. And then they do nothing with him in Heavensward. And I get like it's a downbeat, but like they make him central instead of making other more interesting characters central. And he's just kind of there and like, I want to do better. And like, okay, that's a fine thing to do, but you're not a character yet. Someone should write you. Yeah. But those other two characters are interesting and their arc is pretty cool. And like it's it's fine is the problem, is that it had been so overhyped to me in terms of like where that story goes and the big beats. And the two things I ran into that are really difficult for me, one is just it still is the sort of high fantasy stuff that's kind of rough for me at times. Whereas there have been other bits in this main story that don't, like, I'm never going to be a person who cares about dragons. There's like one cool dragon that I kind of like, and the arc of that character is kind of cool, but the bulk of it's like, I'm just not going to care about them. Whereas like the stuff that was happening in kind of some of the stuff in the patches around, an internal conflict in one of the desert cities, really, or like Ul'dah, really fascinating. Some of the stuff that happens in Limsa Lominsa, all that stuff has an interesting history and like cool, factional politics, and it's a history of, it's like a pirate nation. Like that's going to be dope. But the dragons just didn't work for me, even with a very suspicious anti-dragon pope. And I think that stuff wraps up okay. But the second thing that it kind of like bummed me out, and I think this speaks mostly to its struggles telling a story as an MMO, is because it's an MMO. Well, that's not fair. Because it's the type of MMO it is, it doesn't ever give you the chance to make real choices with your character or to author your character in any way, nor does it do the thing that a traditional single-player Final Fantasy game does, which is author a character for you. The Warrior of Light, your character is really a blank canvas, except for when they need him to, they need them to make choices that are big dramatic things, like, okay, now it's time to go kill this dragon. And I'm sitting here like, my Warrior of Light would not be part of this. Like, based on the way I've envisioned this character for the last 150 hours, and I've had lots of room to envision him because they haven't done anything, because he's been such a blank canvas, to suddenly be like, all right, I'm going to go do this thing, felt like a weird betrayal of the character I'd been playing. And that wouldn't have been the case if it was a Final Fantasy game where that main character could have spoken lines and could have been a person where his interiority could have been expressed and vocalized. When a character in a Final Fantasy game decides to go do something dramatic, there's discussion about it, the real discussion about it, not just the NPCs around that hero making that discussion. And so having that not be there really hurt that expansion for me in some ways. I'm in the patches of Heavensward now, and I'm going to finish those for sure. Like, that is the thing that I'm definitely going to do because it wraps up pretty nicely. I had an incredible, there's like a final dungeon and then a final like boss fight after the dungeon. That final dungeon was not only sick, but also I had what felt like a canonical party. Like, it was like random pickup group, just like queued for the fight. But we were just like, we were clicking. Like, we were like,
nice.
The best years of the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like everything was on fire. Our outfits sort of matched randomly. There was a point in the middle of it where someone was like, this is a good group. Like, this is working. And I should note, I say that especially because I've had some bad groups over the last couple of weeks. I was put in a pickup group to do a dungeon, a pretty like whatever dungeon that I had to do to complete a checklist thing. And I was there so dungeons in this game are 4 or 8 people, basically. There's a 4-person dungeon, and the 3 other people knew each other. So it was me and a group of 3 people. Mm-hmm. And they were role-playing. 2 of them, there was a mommy, a daddy, and a daughter.
Okay.
And the daughter...
Hang on, in real life, or this is the characters?
This is the characters. Oh, I guess I don't know, but I suspect these are the characters. The daughter was the tank, and she was being a precocious brat, which is to say, there were moments in boss fights. One, she was pulling too many enemies at once to try to make her dad, who was the healer, heal her more quickly and like be a shithead to him. In the first of the boss fights, she just decided not to tank. And she was like, no, I'm not gonna. And was like pouting basically in the game. And I'm like, DPS was like, I guess I'm gonna tank now. Keep me healed. Like, I'm a fucking samurai. I don't have the tool set for this at all. Like, I can have like a couple of self heals, but that is it. And then the final phase, the run towards the final boss. The way that MMOs work for people who haven't done this before is that like enemies are set up in little groups. There's like, hey, here's a little group of 3 or 4 enemies. Here's another group of 2 enemies. And in Final Fantasy XIV, you can fight if you have a good tank and a good healer and DPS that's doing its basic job, you can get more than one of those groups at once. You can do like maybe 2 groups, maybe even 3 groups if you have really strong area of effect attacks and blah, blah, blah. This tank, she ran through the entire zone from one boss fight to the other to the next one to get like dozens of enemies on her at once. And died, and then did it again and died. And like, I don't just mean died and then we had to res her. Like we wiped because of this shit. And then did it again, and I was like, what is happening? And meanwhile, she's like, Daddy, you're not doing a good job. And then the mother character was like, now dear, cut your father some slack. You really pulled too many enemies, didn't you? And I'm dying. I'm like, I just want to get out of this fucking dungeon. This is hell, but I need it to progress in my like leveling up inside of one of the factions things.
Yeah.
So then actually hitting a good group towards the end of Heavensward was like, if that was fantastic.
Good.
And I also leveled up Red Mage to 60, and the level 60 Red Mage quest is like, I wish all MMOs could offer that style of solo play stuff. So like, you know, we've talked before about what MMO combat is, but like you have a bunch of abilities. Some of them have cooldowns. Classes have different sub mechanics where you're like raising super meters or trying to earn certain resources to spend. Red Mage is that very actively. You're kind of balancing 2 different meters and trying to like, you're bouncing between different abilities, like a tennis match almost between white magic and or black magic to kind of raise both of those bars up, and you're cashing those in for cool rapier attacks. And then also by level 60, Red Mage has a bunch of utility stuff like healing and stuff like that, and other like boosts to damage and stuff like that. And that fight was fantastic. It's a single player fight. You have these kind of story quests for just you, just kind of like your instanced main. I mean, all of the story quests are instanced and single player in this game, which is weird. But the stories, the specific class stuff is like you versus, you know, some set of enemies inside of an instance. In this case, it was like a one-on-one duel. It was exactly the shit that I talked about loving in Sekiro. Yeah. It's you versus another Red Mage. It's you and like one of your AI like companions from the Red Mage story. And the dude you're fighting has a bunch of really dope like powers that you have to react to very quickly. There's a thing where like he hits you and stabs you. He's like a vampire Red Mage, which is a very anime thing, but it's dope. And if he hits you with a thing to like open up a scar to your soul. And if you don't heal up all the way in time after he does that, he can do like a ton of damage and heal himself off of it. Nice. So you're like, oh shit, I have to go into healer mode and heal myself up. Okay, oh shit, he put bombs all over the place, like, you know, magical bombs. I have to burn one of those down to make a safe space for me to hide. There's like all sorts of little like mechanics to learn, and in the solo stuff that just doesn't happen that often. So that was like a joy, and I've heard that the next expansion has more of that stuff. We'll see. I'm at least going to finish off the Heavensward patches, because going through Heavensward, I can't imagine having played Heavensward at launch, because it has so many open threads at the end, and like it's gonna fill those out over the next 5 patches, but those patches would have come out every few months at the time.
Damn,
and that would the real realization I had was like, I'm going to fall off of this if I ever catch up, because I'm not going to be a person who can keep up with patches and like check in with it every 3 months and do the patch. Do you know what I mean? I'm also gonna do a test. I'm testing 2 things and 2 opposite things. One is my feelings about that. Really, it's one thing. My feelings about this game are I could be playing an MMO I like more, or I could be playing a Final Fantasy game I like more. And so I'm finally going to go back and play Final Fantasy XII, which is one of the Final Fantasies I never put any time into. And then the other is, but have wanted to and would have been done it 3 or 4 times over by now if I had committed to playing that game instead of playing 14. And I'm also starting to play some Star Wars The Old Republic again. I rolled a new character on that over the weekend. Because that is a game that is explicitly about authoring your own character and making choices and getting inside of their head and shit like that. And also, despite my feelings about Rise of Skywalker, I'm still in a Star Wars mood, and so scratching that itch is a good thing. So I'll check in on those in the future. Also, those are my new long, my new MMO. Yeah, I probably won't stick with it, but I am gonna. I have a level 50. I have a level 50 Old Republic character on the final planet. I never beat that game. My computer died while me and my friends were playing Old Republic when that came out, and we got to the final planet and just never finished it. So I'm gonna start a new character, remember how that game works, and then try to power through in my level 50 Dark Jedi Knight.
That's free to play at this point, right?
The first campaign is, or like
Right.
all of the class stories are.
Right.
It immediately feels worse than Final Fantasy in terms of just game feel. Like
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14, like again, this is part of why I'm doing this, is like to gauge my own feelings, but like Final Fantasy 14 feels good to play. I play it with a controller. Like the character movement is great. Being able to play it on a controller like well, at least through level 60, has felt really good. I love moving around the world. I think it looks and sounds fantastic. It looks and sounds way better than Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Right.
But immediately in The Old Republic, like I'm playing a dope, Imperial agent who has a great voice acting, lots of characterization,
Right.
lots of like interesting shit happening in the plot. And so, yeah. Anyway, I will continue to check in on this weird journey I've decided to take with my free time.
Was one of the first times you checked in on Final Fantasy 14 when you said that you had a problem with Alpha No?
I still have a problem with Alpha now.
I know, but
yes.
that was like the first
One of the
time.
first ones, yeah. Have you gotten to
I
his
still
shit yet?
I'm 40 hours in, I still haven't met him.
That's not true. It can't be true.
I think it is.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure I've never met, like, maybe he was in the background of a cutscene, but he has never talked
You have
to
not
me.
done the thing where you've gone and heard the speeches yet.
You know what's weird? I've never heard anyone mention Alpha No.
No, people love. He's like the mascot. People love Alphino. Everyone loves Alphino except for me.
But the fucked up thing is that I know who he is because I played the first like half of
Alphino is real.
Shadowbringers.
Alphino is real, and he's everyone else's friend but me. Yeah, I we'll see. Like the start of a new year is a great moment to be like, have I squeezed everything I can out of this thing,
Right.
or should I move on? So, I don't know. We'll see. Other than that, I think most of my one other really small note, which is very funny, is Patrick. I know you've been doing a test of all the different streaming services, right?
Yeah,
Or, like that's
I'm
a
gonna
plan.
start doing a big. Yeah, I'm gonna run through all the big ones after Stadia launch, just kind of get a sense of what else is out there.
I tested one over the break.
Yeah.
It's a little thing called Steam. It's a little thing called I left my computer on at home so I could stream stuff from my Plex server to watch. But then I realized that Disco Elysium plays like shit on my laptop because it's like a surprisingly intensive game.
Yeah.
And I have like a Surface laptop that does not have like an integrated good graphics card or anything like that. And so it was either run that game in like, 720p on my laptop with a much higher resolution, and that
sucks. It's a pretty game.
it's a pretty game. I actually love all of like the portraits, and I like the character designs a lot. Anyway, or stream it via Steam, which on my mom's internet was not going well, and my home internet, because this is not streaming from a server somewhere. That's not what the stream the Steam streaming is. It is just shooting you data from your home PC to a phone or a Steam box, or it's a laptop.
Hopefully, I want what would seem inevitable at some point is for them to add an option that's like, yo, if you want to just pay $5 and we'll just pull your save and just like we're gonna spin it up from like a proper place where it's like not a subscription service but just like a one-time rental of a machine. As opposed to like the shadow service I've used where like you're renting like, you know what I mean? But like, because I've had that situation too where it's like, maybe I'll just bring my MacBook Air to Wisconsin or whatever. And it's like, I could leave the PC on, but you know what? The internet's not going to be great there. It'd be so much easier. It'd be good enough for me to do it down, but it's just like, I wish you had that option on Steam sometimes.
It worked. It just was ugly as shit. And like, but in terms of latency, it was fine. But it was very much like dial the quality down. Like it looks like a bad stream, but it almost worked for that game. It almost worked for Disco Elysium, in terms of like grime and
it's a hazy experience.
Yeah, totally. And I finished that game at home on my own PC. I like the last 10 to 12 hours, maybe even more than that, I put in by myself. So like the first half I played streaming, and it worked. It worked, So yeah, that was the games of my break. I don't have access to my email because there's a weird bug happening here. Not just me, not just Vice weirdness on my side, which means I can't go into the question bucket. Does anyone else have anything before we wrap up? If not, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. The world is bad. The world is exhausting. I will say, we could not have dreamt that the day our episode skewering Sorkin-esque liberalism would have hit the day that this country decided to assassinate a military officer of another nation. We could not have imagined that it would have hit on the same day that we again saw a lot of center left Democrats trying to, thread the needle between supporting whatever military action this nation takes and, trying to not be ghoulish. But that sure did happen. On top of that, the fires in Australia right now, it is obviously, I just want to say that our heart goes out to those who are in danger and risk there. I definitely hear your frustration around the government response to that. So nothing but support for y'all. And if you're listening to this and you don't know about the situation in Australia right now, definitely spend some time to search out some news. And so I know for a lot of folks, it has been a rough start to a year. And I just want to say, like, we are going to do our best this year to continue to wave the flags that we've been waving and continue to weigh in on all the stuff that we have weighed in on and try to be both respite and also a place to talk about some difficult things. We should do a Waypoint soon so that we can weigh in on TV shows and news and other stuff. But
maybe we just do like a grab bag.
I think so.
And just
talk through
a
some
bunch of stuff instead of.
I saw
Still have
Cats.
access to the Be Good
Wait,
and
you
Rewatch
saw
It.
Cats?
I saw Cats.
Feed?
Yeah, we still have access to that. I think.
Yeah,
No one buried that.
Yeah, it's still there.
We just put whatever we want there.
Yeah.
Cats. I saw Cats. The show, the movie.
Why?
I was getting coffee with a friend, and we saw Cats after. It was not planned. We kind of stumbled
Just
into
like,
it.
oh, hey, cats.
Within 30 seconds of that movie, someone yelled at the whole theater to be quiet
Wow.
because he was there to really watch Cats.
Right.
Within 3 minutes,
A cat's head.
a cat's head. Is that what we call them?
I think so.
Okay. Threw out a word that I should not say on this. Called us all motherfucking, and then stormed out of the theater because everyone was laughing at the movie.
Dogs.
Motherfucking dogs. No, it was it was a C word that was not cats.
That's so funny.
It was wild. It was wild. He was so pissed that we were having a good time. Not his good time, a different good time.
Right.
It was good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it in a very broken way.
There was this one time I was going to the opera, and the guy in front of me at the start of the show, and I did not realize what this portended. As they're doing the whole, like, please turn off your cell phones, and et cetera, he adds at the end of that message, and no coughing.
Wow.
Tell them to not cough. And I was like, that's a little weird. It's a little weird. And the thing about going to places like this is, like, probably 80% of the people around you are like subscribers, right? Like there's a lot of people who just like, they go to the symphony, they go to the opera, but like you don't have a lot of people like, hey, I just want to take in, I just want to take in Turandot this week.
Yeah.
So like you're surrounded by people who like, I think by disposition feel very like entitled to that space. But the thing is, it's a music performance. Eventually someone's going to cough or someone's going to sneeze. And first, the dude just starts like, shh, really loud hissing to like, which is really loud because now you're making more noise because someone coughed down like, in the mezzanine over there. We're up in the balcony somewhere. But then he just starts like calling out people who've like coughed during the show.
Excuse me?
And yeah, it was weird. Like I went from thinking, I'll bet I'd be the hero of this opera if I just like garroted this guy right now, to thinking like, is this guy all right?
Yeah, no, that was
like it was getting weird, like to a point where like people are coughing and he's like, I told you about that. Like, stop doing that.
Did you? Yeah.
But the thing was, mostly the guy had a very strong, like, rich person asshole energy, just like radiating off him. And like, for whatever reason that day, I feel like he just decided his pet peeve was going to be people not observing like pristine studio silence at a live music performance. And it was just one of the like, it's like, what are you doing in this space?
Yeah.
Where clearly the coughing thing bothers you because it is obviously it is a feature of this kind of entertainment. How did you get here and not accept that this is the thing that happens with this experience? And I kind of wonder that, like, how do you go to Cats and not be like,
3 weeks after it releases,
this is probably gonna be pretty rowdy.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like after it's released, it was on New Year's Day. People are off from work, right? People are probably hungover. And like, what's a good goofy idea? Oh, we should go to fucking Cats. Let's see Cats.
And there's even in musical theater,
right?
The play has it's not a serious work.
No,
even in musical theory, it is basically a joke. In New York, it was the show that tourists went to.
Yeah.
Nobody actually saw Cats. It was just a thing that people made a point of doing, when they got off the bus.
Yeah. Also, it is a.
How do you end up in a theater being like, all right, everybody, we're gonna be
dead serious.
We're gonna have a hardcore. We're gonna have a hardcore Cats
Can't
experience
wait to fucking
here.
hear about these Jellicle cats. It is a movie. It is a movie that has such a sincerity to something so absurd that I don't know how you enjoy it any other. Whatever. Taste is taste. But I had a genuinely good time being like, what the fuck is happening? And I understand the story of Cats. I can tell you, I understand the story
this
of
isn't
Cats.
a Kingdom Hearts situation.
This is not I understood it going in.
Wait, as I understand it, the narrative, it's not really much of a narrative though, right? It's like
there is a plot. It is time to make the Jellicle choice under the Jellicle moon. And to do that, you have to decide which cat deserves to go to the Heaviside Layer. And so each cat has to be like, has to tell, do a song.
Sure this isn't Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, I mean,
right, but that's basically a character study, right?
it
Like
is
the
basically
plot
each song is an audition, effectively, in which a cat is singing a song about who they are in their hearts, and then one cat is going to make the judgment of who gets to go to heaven, who gets to die.
What is McCavity up to in all this?
So so McCavity wants to be in this adaptation wants to be the cat who is chosen, and so is whisking away all of the other cats one by one after each song that they perform and putting them on a boat, like Captain Hook style, like locking them up.
Oh, we still need to watch that one movie.
We do still have to watch that one movie. Fuck, we have to watch that movie. The young Peter Pan.
Oh, the Pan. Was it just Pan?
Pan? Is that what
where they were doing Smells Like Teen Spirit?
Yes,
right.
We do still see. We got to bring back that feed.
Yeah.
Though that is the movie, and then McCavity is stealing everyone away, and then but actually the cat who is like the former glamour cat, but everyone hates her now, has the most moving song and blah blah blah. Like, not to spoil Cats, but that's the fucking thing with Cats.
She sings Memories.
She sings Memories 2 or 3 times throughout that movie, which is at least one time too many. It's chosen.
Play the hits.
Play the hits, baby. There's a new song in this movie, I think, that I didn't like very much. And I'm not out here like I'm a Cats stan, but that's the thing. I went in knowing it was going to be,
head, please.
Huh?
Cat's head.
Sorry, I meant a cat's head. I'm not a cat's head. But I didn't deserve to be called that name either. So anyway, it's fine. What I was going to bring up when you're talking about people coughing, have any of you seen the Pete Weber bowling video where he yells? So I think a lot of people have seen the video at the end of this video, where this bowler yells at the crowd. He's like, I did it! That's why I did it! And it's a very fantastic thing, but the lead up to it is actually better, and I've linked you to it, and I think we should watch this and then end this podcast.
All right.
Cue up.
I want to do
Professional Bowling from 2012.
Quick shout out.
What do you want to do a quick shout out to?
Knives Out. It was a very good movie.
I like Knives Out quite a bit.
No, I want to talk about Knives Out so bad. I love that movie.
Let's write down.
We can't
do it today.
Okay, we got it.
Knives Out.
Wrap it up.
Watchmen.
Patrick, look, we're just going to sneak a couple episodes on the Be Good and rewatch it. That's just going to happen. You're going to be cool about it.
You all can do whatever you want. I cannot stop you.
Website's going to stop us. They might. All right, we're loading this video up.
When have they ever stopped us from doing anything we loved? Anyway, watch this video of this mad bowler.
All right, let's go.
This is 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's short. Don't worry about it.
You know what? That might be just the encapsulation of this whole thing. Like, it's just a short video.
Yeah, it's short.
It's 3.5 minutes. That's not fucking.
Don't worry about it.
3.5 minutes. A short video.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
This would be too long for some of the decision makers at major media companies. 3.5 minutes. That's long form. Not us.
Can we click?
Where are you at, Cado?
I don't know where
You
I'm
lost
at.
it. You closed.
It's gone.
You open up Chrome again.
Hold on. There's them. There's Chrome.
Yeah, we're just gonna play it.
Do you want
There's
to?
them.
Should I full screen this?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the name of this video is Fans versus Pete Weber, U.S. Open 2012. Count us in. I guess I'll count us in. 3, 2, 1, go.
And welcome everybody, the 69th.
I feel like I've seen this, but I can't.
You've seen the
remember.
end of it for sure.
Pete Weber in our second match getting ready to go.
One, I'll tell you. Pete Weber's got a strike.
Good strike.
See, that's what, and he looked right over. Yeah, he's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he pointed at the
He
crowd.
just pointed at the crowd?
Yeah, dude.
He's wearing gunners?
Right? He's just.
Was he pointing at someone in particular?
Who could say?
Ooh.
Stop moving over there, please.
Oh.
Please stop moving while I'm on my approach. That's all I ask.
That's all I ask.
There are kids.
More fun
Yeah, there are
listening to
kids.
Pete than it is to us.
I can't
we're
find
way
the
out
person
here
who's
off.
moving.
No need.
There's that
for
guy
me to sit.
smiling in the back.
Cracking up
though.
behind him.
Yeah, could be that guy.
I said, would you please stop moving in my approach?
Not good when you have the.
I don't know what's hard about that to understand.
I don't know who he's looking at.
The elevator's going down. Not good.
Oh,
All you gotta do is sit still.
all you gotta do is sit still.
This isn't cut together. If you're not seeing this is not cut together. This is just happening live.
Yeah, this has been a lot.
Move them.
Move 'em.
I want to see this escalate.
Okay.
We've now jumped ahead to another
Move
sequence.
the championship round, and again, Pete started. We're a long way off from him, so I don't think he heard me talking. He's got glass in front of me,
commentators.
so I'm ducking.
I'm hiding behind you.
He's a good bowler.
I think ornery is the word that
He's
I
really
would use
good.
now.
Move
He-
again.
What did he say?
You move again.
Ornery. He's
He is.
really ornery, and he's really irritated with somebody over
Honorary.
there to the right side.
I don't know how he can see anybody moving over there because everyone's so afraid right now. Absolutely. in
This is
zip
sponsored by
jackets.
Barbasol.
It is, yeah. Oh,
That pin has stood up all day. That
Really?
10.
Do that again.
What are you gonna do? You
Still
need a follow up.
Somebody over.
do that again.
Staring someone down.
Like none of the security is taking any of this seriously. He's the only one getting mad.
Match or a boxing
I
match?
don't know
What's going
what
on?
that is.
This is a championship game, so I mean,
Damn.
It's called sportsmanship.
It's called sportsmanship,
called
pal. That's
sportsmanship.
amazing.
I wish we knew who he was talking to.
We've been
Somebody's-
watching over there trying to figure out who it is.
They have
but
cameras.
I can't.
If they can't
I
find
don't
it-
know who it is he's talking to.
Somebody's rooting against Pete over there on that side, and they just said something when Pete left the ringing 10, and Pete doesn't like it and gave it right back to him.
And we'll get his spare. So Pete
Again?
Weber gets the spare.
Oh, wow.
and this is it. Get ready.
Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
Who do you think you are? I am.
I am.
I'd only seen that final bit before, and I didn't understand that there was a whole narrative, a whole build to Pete Weber blowing up at the end of that bowling championship.
The only thing I heard
It's a
was
really weird sequel to Harvey.
it was like an orb style Pete.
There
at
was
some
a Pete.
point.
People are rooting for Pete out here. I don't know
Yeah.
why he was so
mad.
upset. All right, on that
There's no follow up. Who is this man?
Pete Weber. That's do you mean the man in the crowd?
No, I mean yeah, like
Who is it?
I don't know. There has to be that is a mid 2010s feature story for sure, right? Like a 3,000 word deep dive into
Oral history of Pete Weber's.
Yeah, exactly.
Grantland would have run that piece.
100%. Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see any notes on who controversy.
Mystery.
No, okay, this is just Weber's attitude on television has given him a reputation as a
Hold on.
brash action
I want to read.
bowler. Yeah?
There's an SB Nation article from 2016 remembering the hottest quote in bowling history. The who do you think you are? I am. 1. It took place during the 69th U.S. Open tournament. 2. This was Pete Weber's chance to pass his late great father's record. 3. Pete Weber entered the event as the lowest seed. 4. Pete Weber's theme music is Triple H's theme music.
Unbelievable!
5. At one point, he starts to get chippy with an audience member. 6. Okay, and then the rest of this is interesting.
Okay.
And this doesn't say who the fan is, but yeah, Triple H's theme music. That was worth it.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Similar
Love it.
energy.
Oh, someone asked him where the quote came from. Quote. I guess what everyone wants to know is where did I come up with who do you think you are? I am. Well, being caught up in the moment of throwing the strike and being as excited as I was, I had a kid rooting against me during the match, and he was doing it just loud enough for me to hear, and it kind of made me mad. And people know don't make me mad
Hold on,
on
a
TV
kid?
because I'll just get better. Well, he's probably just being condescending to like anybody as a kid to him. It says, but what I really wanted to say was, who do you think you are rooting against me? I'm the man of this tournament. That's what I really wanted to say. But as everyone
way longer.
knows,
Yeah, it's not as good.
it's, who do you think you are? I am, which caught on. It's a worldwide catchphrase
Oh my
now.
god.
TM, I guess.
He's ending his WWE style bowling promos with it now. Love it. Hit my music. All right. On that note, let's bring that energy into 2020. Who do you think you are? I am.
You know what? Yeah, stand up for you. Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. You know, in a year that's already gone some wild places. Stick together. Let the world know who you are. We'll be back
In my upcoming some theoretical salary negotiation, who do you think you are? I am.
Perfect. All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back later this week to talk about some more stuff. You follow me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. Follow the show, twitter.com/Waypoint, waypoint.vice.com. Obviously, Cado, where can people find you?
At @A_Cado_appears.
Patrick.
And Patrick Klubik.
And Rob.
At Rob Zachney.
As always, thank you to Bowen for letting us use the song Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that. Waypoint.zone/BOEN. If you have questions, hopefully I'll have access to email again. You can send those to gaming@vice.com. All right, until then, fuck capitalism. Go home.
And also, why did the Cowboys hire Mike McCarthy?
Dude, we can't. We need some catch-up podcasts. This is what I'm saying. We really
Friday.
God, he threw a pick.
Okay, but
he
seriously,
threw a pick. It was
the
so
stark
beautiful.
terror in Josh Allen's eyes. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
I have never felt worse for a professional football
Dude.
player, but like he had a good game,
Yeah.
and then he was just subjected to the worst pressure and began making mistakes. Like,
Dude,
I
did you
swear
see
to
that
God,
four-man rush? That, like, how does a four-man... Oh, my God. It was brutal. It was brutal. That was a brutal end to that game.
They're mostly fun games, though.
They were.
It was a
Even
good
the Eagles
weekend.
game, which sucked, which obviously hurt me deeply, it was still, like, watchable as a game.
Oh, I love Josh McCown is one of my favorite players.
How good is Romo, by the way? The opening, like, first of all, he totally figured out what Vrabel was doing by running the clock, which like showed real command of NFL rules, which few commentators possess.
Yeah.
In the booth, certainly not Booger. But
Booger was
Hold on.
historically bad in this game. Anyway,
Is that a nickname?
if I said no, would that be
yes,
better?
it's a nickname. Booger McFarland is a Monday Night Football commentator. It's a bad scene, Cado. But
I'm about to watch my
the other
first
thing I
football
really
game
love,
of the
though,
season next weekend.
is the
Go Ravens.
wait, what do you mean? Are you? Oh, okay.
Baltimore,
Are you going?
Yeah. What?
No, you're not going.
I'm just gonna watch it.
You have a good chance.
on the
That's a
TV.
great bandwagon to be on.
It's a fantastic.
honestly. You
It's
should
the
just
only-
look up Lamar
he's
Jackson
from, he
highlights.
lived in Baltimore. It's not even a bandwagon.
No, like
Let him
it's the only time I ever
but you
watch football
don't
is
watch
when the
football.
Ravens are in the
Right.
playoffs. That's
Yeah.
it.
So you watch a fair amount then.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
every once in a while.
Rob, we could just be released from this if we
I'm gonna-
just stuck to
yeah,
that. We would never have to watch football again.
We've caught like 4 games in the last our lives.
Yeah.
Our lives. We'd have seen 4 games of football. But I love the part at the opening of the Patriots game as they're sort of promoting the game where Romo's like, "Is this the end? I don't know." And he turns toward the camera and has this maniacal gleam in his eye and is like, "But it could be." Oh my God. Romo just willing the Patriots to crumble before his eyes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What a beautiful end to a game. Anyway, let's go home.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Wait, I think I figured out what's wrong with your mic, Patrick.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure your gain is just all the way up.
It's not.
That's weird. Because I found out over here I have you turned down, which is why you didn't sound loud to us.
No, the gain is all the way down on the hardware side, and it is at 50% on the software side. And
Weird. Oh, maybe it's your Discord gain then. Did that get bumped on accident somehow?
I thought those were locked now.
Really?
Are they not?
Mm.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I thought, is that not tied to?
No, Discord has its
shoot
own
that.
slider in there, I think. I don't know. Does moving that slider move the
I don't
The
know.
system
Hold on.
level one?
Give me a second.
Because if it does, then I guess don't mess with it, and it's fine.
No, that looks independent. How was that? Is that
Yeah.
bad?
Patrick's gone now.
Yeah, but did you have him turned down from before
Like on Discord.
on
you mean.
Discord? Because I did.
Okay. Patrick, talk.
Yeah, 1098-765.
He's still pretty quiet to me, man, but I can
Yeah.
turn
Here,
him up.
it was at 95, then I went to 50. Let's go to
70s
75.
tend to be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
feel
middle
like,
is usually the place to be.
I feel like that's a good.
What's a account
I
night?
played Go for a while.
Fucking catch me out here celebrating
I played a
Christmas
lot.
on
I played a-
DDoS 2.
I played a lot when it first came out.
Yeah.
I remember playing a lot of Half-Life multiplayer because the big thing was you could fucking tag shit.
You could get them tags up. I did that. I of the Half-Life multiplayer scene stuff, I definitely played the most. Team Fortress Classic was definitely the thing I played the most.
All right, this should be better now.
Yeah, you sound great.
You're good.
But yeah, Team Fortress was definitely my Half-Life mod multiplayer thing of choice. Lost so many hours to that fucking
But what
thing.
we're actually getting into is Escape from Tarkov, right?
I would love to, Rob.
Yo, that video.
I've
That
been
was
watching some
fucking great.
streamers. I've been watching streamers, and I had a lot of friends of the site. Without naming names, a lot of friends of the site have been getting into that game, and so I'm thinking about trying it. I already have it. They set a press code like a year ago, and I was like, oh, this might be a thing. And then it wasn't there yet, but it's been a year, and it seems like it might be
Right.
there. So
Yeah.
I watched a 45-minute long Escape from Tarkov beginner's guide. So I'm gonna try to put. I wanted to put some time in before today, but I got sick yesterday. So
So how stalker is it really?
it's not well.
Because I keep hearing that though, right?
It's stalker in the sense
It's
that
user hostile in some stalker ways.
yeah,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
but it's not. As far as I can tell, it's not stalker in the sense that there are anomalies,
Right.
or
That's what
anything
I was
like that.
wondering.
It's it's like PUBG with some bots or Arma with. It's like PUBG, Arma, DayZ more than
Gotcha.
Stalker, but those things all share a design,
for sure.
playbook, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna try to play some this week. Emmanuel Myberg just messaged me. Did you play MK11? MK11 is a story about how centrism is evil. Damn, gotta play it.
I wanted to play it, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I will probably just watch all those cutscenes, which is what I did with the previous MK games, so the most recent.
That's
stuff.
fair.
It's way easier than getting good at a fighting game.
You don't have. That's the thing, though. You don't
Can
have
you turn
to.
Rob up a
Like,
little bit?
You can button mash as long as you know how to do like down forward and back back forward
Back
you're
forward.
good.
Yeah.
That's like I mean there's more to it, but like you only play as a single fighter for like 2 matches and then it cycles to the next one, so it's like there's not even any time to.
You sound
wrap your head
weird.
around it.
Patrick does sound weird too.
You sound loud. I think you're loud, but not loud.
What?
Not
you,
Rob.
Rob is good.
You're soft actually.
No, I know, but I'm not
Patrick,
hearing
can
any
you
different.
talk a
from
little
Patrick.
bit?
Sure, yeah, I'm right here. I
Yeah,
just did a
there's a-
stream, so
It sounds like you're clipping, but that your clipping is being compressed down.
Yeah.
Is that right, Cado? Is that what you're
Yeah.
hearing?
Yeah.
Could that be on our side?
No.
but I mean I don't. How could I be compressing?
You're not. But I'm describing how it sounds.
No, I know.
You're sure it's not on
And
our
Rob,
side.
and Robin, you say I sound fine?
You sound maybe a little trebly.
Yeah, that
Well,
also
that's true.
happens. Wait, have you done anything? Is anything from your stream open?
No.
Okay.
I can reboot and then we'll see if it's truly on my side or your side. So, all right, give me a second.
Yeah. It's weird.
It is weird. I can hear it. Rob, did you get to? Do you have anything? You have anything that you've played that I should write down over the break?
So I replayed Batman Arkham Asylum.
All right, you shut the fuck up. We have to have this conversation for real. That's not. That's.
What?
I bought someone Batman Arkham Asylum over the break as a gift. I have a cousin or uncle. I have an uncle who only has a PS3 and only gets to play games every now and then. Like, he loves games, but he doesn't have a lot of income. And so there's a whole pool of games from the PS3 era that he's never played. And that includes Batman Arkham Asylum, which is maybe one of the best games of that generation. So I was happy to get him that for $5. And he was very, very excited about it. But we'll talk about it.
Any better?
Keep talking?
Hello. 10, 9, 8,
No.
7,
No, we'll
6.
live. It's weird. Maybe I wonder if the local's fine.
It's so much more pronounced on your end. To me, Patrick sounds like Patrick.
Okay.
Weird.